All right, welcome back everybody. If you watched my last episode, I made that this morning where we put the grapevine in the garden, and I brought out the propane weeder for a third time just to do some quick touch up and burn all the grass off in the garden. So what I'm gonna do in this video, I know some people are watching for updates on the garden. So we're gonna pick a few vegetables that are ready. I've got some weeding to do. I'm just gonna kind of show you how everything's doing. So although these zucchini plants aren't doing as well as the ones out in the main garden, they're still producing. We've done got several zucchini off of them. I think part of the problem is here, the soil is nowhere near as rich as what's out in the garden. That's just straight compost out there. A lot of what's in this bed is some of that clay top soil that I put in there for filler with a small layer of compost on top. So you can tell a huge difference in between what's growing in this little bed and the main beds. The other reason is we've just recently had to put a camper here to get it near a power pole until our new shop's built, and it's blocking a lot of the sunlight for the first few hours of the morning that's coming to these plants. So I think that's really affecting them too. So like I said, these zucchinis aren't doing the world's best, but they're doing okay. They're starting to get a little of that kind of mildew powdered look to them, so I need to research that a little bit, but they're still producing. My bell peppers are doing quite well over here. You can see these are red and yellow bell pepper varieties here, and I mean every one of them's just loading up. A lot of them have 2, some of them even have 3 on them right now. So these are doing really good. I've still got to get this Myers lemon and lime in the ground, so that'll be coming up in an episode pretty soon. Got a peach tree here, a loquat, and another one right there. I've got to get those in the ground. So if you watched the last episode, you can see where I burned all the grass off in the garden. I've been propane weeding, and I went over it twice and it killed off everything fantastic. So I went ahead and killed off or burned off the rest of that grass so I could see these last few green weeds that are coming up. Go ahead and spot treat those. And the plan is here before long to start layering all this in chip mulch. Now you know this is always the most exciting part of the garden to me, my corn. I mean, it is doing excellent. Y'all just watched a video not long ago where I did the garden, and that was literally only a few days ago. I think the corn was down to here. Just look at the growth, it's unreal. So as long as we don't get any bad storms to blow it over, I think this corn is going to do very, very well. My peppers are starting to really kind of beef up stalk-wise. They're not getting blown over as easily now, so they're doing pretty good. These are the ones that survived very well with some of the storms that we had. My squash and zucchini's doing fantastic. Some of these leaves that look burnt up, that's literally what happened when the little grass fire come through here. It kind of wilted these outside ones. I don't think it'll affect the plant at all. I do want to ask y'all something though. I'm starting to notice, I mean, they still look green and beautiful, but some of these tips are starting to yellow up and brown. And I'm honestly thinking it's because I have so much nitrogen in this soil. I mean, it was like 50% chicken manure. So by next year, I'm not going to add much nitrogen to it and let this soil kind of tone down. I was reading online, it said another thing that could cause this is overwatering. However, whenever I stick my finger down in this compost, it feels, it's not even damp. This soil actually drains very, very well. So I think I can rule out the overwatering. I think I just have so much nitrogen in here, it's burning the tips. It did the same thing with the corn there, which corn loves nitrogen, so it didn't matter, but tips of those are burning too. So I'm thinking that's what it is, but if you have any other ideas what's going on here, why those are yellowing up, let me know. So you can look in here and see, I mean, look, that's great. Big old zucchini there I'm gonna pick. Another one will be ready probably by tomorrow. Another one growing here. So I've never had zucchini and squash plants putting on 3, 4, and 5 at a time. Normally they'll put on 1 or 2, you pick one, then they'll put on another 1 or 2. You see this one right here? It's got a big one on there. It's got a couple. Actually, it's growing 3 of them right now too. So very happy with what I see here. Here on this side with the squash, you can see that it might be a bad thing. I mean, I've got this one plant putting on 5, 6 squash at once, and I noticed they're being a little slow to fill out. So I'm almost thinking it's a bad thing I have such rich soil, because they really need to be putting on 1 or 2 at a time, filling out, then picking them. Look right here, that squash is ready to pick today. So that's how I'm used to plants doing, putting on one or two, you pick one, they produce some more. As I look in here, seeing more squash that'll be ready to pick very soon. So these plants are loading up, but loading up so well, I'm almost a little concerned they're trying to do too much at once. Potatoes, I mean, they're doing awesome. They're just exploding every time I come out here, starting to flower out. And I don't know how y'all do your potatoes, but how I've always done, I say they're ready once the vines actually start dying off, and I'll even let them completely die off and hit the ground, and that's when I'll go dig my potatoes up. It's just kind of always been the rule of thumb for me. So this whole little plot has just been struggling. I'm only winding up with just a few bush beans. I about done gave up on it. Got a couple cantaloupes over here that are doing well. I'm starting to see a little bit of grass and weeds pop up in here, so we're going to work on that today too. Kind of clean some of these beds up. I've only weeded them once, so they've been doing quite well as far as the weeds go. My cantaloupes over here, they're starting to run and vine out, so I knew that was going to be happening pretty soon. They will only grow so high before they start taking off. Looks like that one's starting to vine out and run, as well as this one. So looking forward to those. It's just that old little extra plot that I had that I was playing with. Got a few bush beans that are trying to make it in between some extra corn that I planted. Here's the blueberries that we planted. So far so good. I'm trying to keep them watered every day to make sure they take root real well. But even though these are small bushes, they just keep loading up on blueberries. And then if you watch the last episode, I just put this grapevine trellis in. I've got one muscadine grapevine there. We got to go get a few more. I'm gonna stick them in here. My other pepper box, a few of them I lost in the storm. I didn't replant. I got plenty of peppers, so I'm just gonna stick with what I got. And here is the bad story of the garden. There's always something you got to fight. So several episodes back, I talked about I was losing okra. I said, hey, we had just had a real bad windstorm, so I was like, that's got to be what it is. A few stalks are getting blown over and it's breaking the roots. Well, I've noticed I've been losing more and more and more okra with no windstorms. So I started really paying attention to what's going on. And believe it or not, I'm losing okra due to fire ants. I couldn't believe it. I started noticing as I go to the base of every dying okra plant and pull back the soil, there'll be ants all in there, and they're actually chewing. I don't know if you can see on that stalk right there. They're actually chewing into it and cutting them down. I don't know if they're doing it for moisture or what. So crazy. I mean, look how big this one was. Somehow it's still making it, but you can see right where they chewed it at ground level. So I'm trying to figure out how to combat them. I just got me some diatomacious earth. That's what I've always used in the past because I like to stay organic in the garden. So I'm going to put some of that out. The problem is every time you water, it's no good. I also was told that ground cinnamon works well. Got some of that on the way. And probably the best treatment that I can do, spot treatment, there's something called Orange Guard. It's actual citrus spray, and supposedly it kills ants and other bugs on contact. Obviously it's organic as well, being citrus, so that stuff should be in any day now, and I'm about to start waging war on these little ants and save the last of my okra. If I can save what I currently have, I'll still get quite a few pods off of this and I'll be happy, but I hate seeing big bare spots like this and plants that have been chewed right off at the base. But if there's one thing I've learned over the years with gardening, there's always something that wants your garden worse than you do. Luckily, I have several plants over there that are just too tight together that I was going to weed out. So I'm going to try transplanting. A lot of things don't do well to transplanting, especially now that we're up to 90-something degree days. But hey, I'm at least going to try it. I've got all these dead spots and a few plants that I need to remove. So we'll put them over here. I'll water them really well, and fingers crossed I can fill in some of these dead spots. I tell you one thing I love about this raised bed gardening method. You can plant stuff so thick like this corn and those zucchini and squash, and they shade out everything underneath. I haven't had to really weed this bed at all. Neither have I had to do the squash or zucchini. And when it's this thick and shaded too, I notice it holds moisture a little better because the sun's not getting down there drying it out, which I could also mulch it too, but something you just don't think about. The other thing too is this corn was blowing over a lot when it was little, but now that it's kind of all got bigger, thicker, and entangled together, it's helping support itself. So I do like that part of it too. Nice. Well, it looks like I'll have a few squash ready tomorrow and a couple more zucchini. Definitely want to get this grapevine watered in really good. Well, I might have just answered my own question on why some of these leaves are turning yellow. I do think I have a lot of nitrogen in here, no doubt. But when I was watering, I found a couple of squash bugs. And I went ahead and took care of them. I wish I had showed them off on camera. But what they'll do is they'll actually bore down into the stalks of these plants. And I believe they lay larvae or something there. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But they can actually cause your leaves to yellow up and kind of die off. So I'm glad I went ahead and watered during the middle of the day. Actually, there's one right there. See that guy? They got to go. So obviously I've got a lot of them in here. I'm glad I went ahead and watered during the day like this. So these leaves will hurry up and dry off. And then I'm gonna come out here and put some diatomaceous earth on this, all up underneath the leaves. I have a special blower. And that stuff works very well for kind of hard-shelled animals like that. And it's completely safe, organic. Problem is, every time you water your plants, it's gone. But I try to get it underneath the leaves. Those typically don't get wet, and it stays a little longer underneath there. All right, I use a product called diatomacious earth, and I get this off Amazon as well as my duster. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, it's down in the link below in the description. But I have used this for years. It works great. Problem is, once it gets wet, it's no good anymore. And what it is, it's a mined mineral, and it, on a microscopic level, is like glass. It's just extremely sharp. It's completely harmless to pets, animals, yourself. You can touch it. It just feels like a powder. But once the little insect crawls through this, it cuts them all open, and ultimately they die of dehydration. So I'll go out and put this on every couple of days. Like I said, after you water the plant, you kind of need to put some more on. But the reason I like using this duster right here, I can get all up underneath the leaves as well, and I don't have to treat underneath the leaves quite as often because the water usually doesn't get up underneath there. It's probably a bit windy for this, but I do prefer some wind when doing this. That way it'll carry the dust all through the plants. But it's pretty straightforward. You just crank the dial, you can get up underneath. I have misplaced it, but this actually comes with an attachment on the end that's scooped up, so you could blow up underneath the leaves, but I find it works pretty good on this straight tube, just like this. Alright, well, we got the garden looking good. It's just getting better and better every time I come out here. Other than discovering a few bugs are trying to get into my garden and want a little more than me, we'll treat them and we'll do the best we can. I don't think you can realistically plant a garden and not expect to lose something or to have a bug problem. It's just kind of the way it goes. Now, there are definitely proactive things that you can do to help reduce, maybe not eliminate bugs. That's just one of those things that's going to happen. So hopefully treating this with some diatomaceous earth will help, especially the squash bugs. And then I've got some other stuff coming too that's all natural that I'm going to try that should show up in the next couple of days. So we're weeded, we're looking good, we're starting to treat the bugs, we're already picking some vegetables, we're going to eat some of those tonight. And let me know, as we pick more vegetables, if y'all would like to see some of us cooking, doing some recipes, things like that, eating out of the garden. I don't mind including that on the channel as well. We cook just about every single night, and Tiffany does a lot of cooking, so thankful for that. But if you want to see some cooking with stuff that we're pulling right out of here, let me know. I'll record a few of those episodes as well. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I've got a lot more videos coming quickly, a lot of projects ramping up, so I will keep a lot of videos coming out, probably just about daily here for a while. Thanks for watching.